My name is Diane Starziak, and I'm a DAR member, and I live here in Oriskany. So I've been a little kid since this plaque was put here, but that stone used to be a couple of streets up when I was a little kid, and we used to come and see it because there was like, this is where they sat General Herkimer, you know, when he got off the horse and was waiting to go to Utica. But so I was given this just yesterday, so I have a little bit of information that I want to share with you that I thought was interesting. Okay, here we go. The road leading then from Oriskany to Fort STANWIX was through an unbroken forest, and about 2 miles from the former, crossed the deep ravine some 30 rods north of the present road to Rome. The bottom of the ravine was marshy, but a log causeway rendered it passable. This caused the ravine, the enemy lying concealed on both sides of the road for almost a mile above it. General Herkimer, who rode a white horse, was in the advance with Cox's regiment, and had crossed the small ravine some little distance above the first one mentioned. Had the whole column in open order, with the exception of the rear guard, composed of Vischer's regiment, had passed the causeway when the Indian war whoop was given as a signal of attack, and the murderous conflict commenced. The attack was general and from every quarter. The Indians immediately closed up the opening at the causeway, severing the rear guard from the main body, and thus situated it broken and fled. They were pursued by the Indians, and no portion of the little army suffered as severely, and it is believed that they would have suffered less had they managed to cut their way through to the main body. On receiving the first fire, General Herkimer ordered Colonel Cox to wheel his regiment into line in the road, and this was attempted, by the fire from the unseen foe was so severe that soon every man took to a tree. It has now become a contest of individual feats of noble courage and daring. Soon after the commencement of the action, General Herkimer, who still remained with the advanced regiment, received a ball about 6 inches below the knee, which shattered the bone and also killed the horse on which he rode. His saddle was taken from the prostrated steed and placed by the side of the trunk of a fallen tree, where the brave old general, reclining against the tree, continued to issue orders. For a considerable time there was so much confusion and disorder, but this was followed by the discovery that concert of action was necessary for the effective defense, and soon tolerable orders were restored, and the men formed in a circle, the better to repel the attacks of the enemy, who were now closing in upon them on all sides. In a great measure the firing had ceased, but the work of death was progressing with the tomahawks, the bayonets, the knives and the clubs, muskets, and the resistance became effective. At this juncture a heavy shower of rain arose, which arrested the fight for more than an hour, and this gave Herkimer's men an opportunity to organize still more perfectly. A circle was formed around the wounded general, and it became necessary to place 2 men to a tree instead of 1, with orders for but 1 to fire at a time. This was to counteract the tactics of the Indians, who, whenever they saw a musket discharged from behind a tree, ran up and tomahawked its owner before he had time to reload. After the rain had subsided, the fight was renewed in still deadlier ardor, and the advantage of the new arrangement was soon to be seen, for the life of many a tawny son of the forest paid the forfeit of his territory in rushing behind a tree when there was still a loaded musket. I'm not going to read much more. Because you've all heard it. So I want to read what was given to me. The night before the battle, Herkimer's men should have slept soundly. They had marched many miles on August the 5th and forded the river. General Herkimer had sent 3 scouts, Adam Helmer, John Demuth, and Johann Jost Foltz, to Fort STANWIX, with orders to acquaint Colonel Gansevoort of the size and strength of the relief force. The general also requested Gansevoort to send out a force from the fort to meet the militia. He was to give the signal that support was coming by firing 3 cannon shots. With his plans made, Herkimer hopefully slept well. Meanwhile, Colonel Barry St. Ledger, the 40-year-old career officer and veteran of French and Indian War, was well informed of Herkimer's movements. Molly Brandt, still living in the Canajoharie area, had sent word of the militia's departure and strength. St. Ledger confirmed with St. John Johnson and John Joseph Brandt, who knew the countryside well. A ravine 6 miles east of the fort was chosen as an ideal spot for an ambush. 80 members of Johnson's Royal Greens and 800 Indian warriors were recruited to carry out the plan. The morning of August 6th was hot and humid, sort of like today. Herkimer called together his officers and reviewed the plans to wait for the signal from the fort. Several officers who were feeling their men were anxious to get on with it, were against waiting. A heated argument followed. Colonel Cox is credited with accusing Herkimer of aiding the Tory cause, probably using Herkimer's brother's John Jost's adherence to the British as a weapon. He was completely insubordinate, partially due to his hatred of the Herkimers, from which Nicholas's father was a justice of the peace and had Cox's father arrested and imprisoned for non-payment of a debt, his racist attitude towards the Indians who hated him, and his hatred for the British. The plan to march instead of waiting for the 3 cannons to be fired immediately prevailed, and Herkimer gave orders to go forward. The marker reads, "Near this spot on the night of August 5th, 1777, at the head of his column, made his first camp before the Battle of Oriskany. From this point his runners were dispatched to Fort STANWIX, placed by the ONEIDA chapter Daughters of the American Revolution of Utica, June 14th, 1912. Okay, there was a poem that I was asked to recite. Quickly waiting for the fight to begin, thinking of family, will I see them again? The sound of the night wants to lull me to sleep. My prayers for protection I know I must keep. Will I live or die? Does anyone know? Freedom is calling, and there I shall go. The night quickly passes with the breaking of day. The birds start singing in a melodious way. I listen for sounds unfamiliar to me, a noise to mark the coming melee. My life, my home, my country and land, freedom is calling, I now take my stand." Please pray. Dear Lord, for those brave men and women facing the unknown in our continual fight for freedom today, may you strengthen them and protect them. May we who gather here appreciate the service and sacrifice of those brave souls, many of them who did not live out their fateful day on August 6, 1777. May they rest in peace, and may we never forget that freedom is not free. Amen.
Amen.